Let's talk about two radically different philosophies that are using the same philosophy. Now, as an expert metaphysician, oh yes, I am definitely an expert metaphysician. See, I translate ancient Greek, ancient to Prakrit, Romanized Sanskrit. Boy, I knows me some metaphysics and hardcore philosophy. Certainly not Western existentialism, which I absolutely hate. Let's talk about like Sony versus Fuji. And now, while I certainly don't speak Japanese, no way. Uh, the root of this Japanese word goes back to China, which stole it from Sanskrit, which originally came from Prakrit. So let's talk about that. Okay, Kaizen. Okay? Now, I don't know Japanese. I may be slightly mispronouncing this. I certainly know I'm not mispronouncing the word Zen. I don't know if it's Kaizen or Kaizen. Okay? But I do know something about that root word, and let's talk about that really quickly. Let's talk about Kaizen philosophy. Kaizen is the really crude, secular translation of good change. Okay? Good change. Kai or Kei and Zen. Zen being the good part, change being Kai or Kei. No, I don't speak Japanese. Let me get to the heart of the matter here. Now, the people over at Fuji Rumors and everybody that's a hardcore fan of Fuji is always talking about Kaizen or Kaizen. The change which is good. Like Fujifilm, for example, which they're giving out firmware updates on cameras that they haven't made in a bazillion years. Okay, so that's good. That's really good support. Now, what about a bad Kaizen? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Supposed to be Kaizen is change for the good. Now, this is a horrible secular transliteration of the word Zen. And Japanese, I love the Japanese. You see, I've got a $28,000 bodysuit of Japanese, artwork. So don't accuse me of like picking on the Japanese. Okay, don't, because obviously I wouldn't have covered myself in $28,000 of a Japanese bodysuit here. Okay, so I don't want anybody accusing me of that. But one thing the Japanese are guilty of is too much literalization. And what if it is the case, and it is the case, that you can have good Kaizen and bad Kaizen? Let's take Sony, for example. Ever heard of the old English saying, change for the sake of change? It's like everything is working great. We might need to iron out a few kinks, but there's no need to rock the boat and like totally reinvent the wheel. Now, all English-speaking people understand that, okay? So that would be bad Kaizen. Well, Kaizen is supposed to be good change, so there's no such thing as bad good change. Yeah, there is. Okay, so there's two Japanese philosophy of Kaizen. The one that Sony is using, and then there was the one that is being used by Fuji. Fuji's Kaizen is the good Kaizen. They are taking a platform that they thought very, very, very long and hard about. They beta tested the hell out of it before they went to production. Like the XT1, for example. Okay. Now the XT1 admittedly is based off of a really essential old platform that Nikon and Leica use, and the knobs right here is like ISO, shutter speed. I mean, obviously all of that harkens back, the placement of the hot shoe. I mean, all of that is very, very simplistic. Okay? So let's take something that is divinely simple, and as I've said, my motto that I created, simplicity is divinity. They came out with the XT1. Really, really damn good camera. My God, they sold the hell out of the XT1. They sold the bejesus out of the XT1. And then, of course, the XT1's serious flaws, and there's no such thing as a perfect camera, is that its autofocus acquisition tracking sucked. But, I mean, the X100T autofocus tracking sucks. But, I mean, it's not made for sports and action. The X100T, which is really my favorite camera, all things be said, because there ain't nothing beats a leaf shutter. Nothing beats a leaf shutter. They improved upon the XT1, super fast XT2, serious improvements, 4K video. I don't give a damn about video. Wow, the tracking is amazing. So that's good Kaizen. Now, what's an example of bad Japanese Kaizen? And this is something the Japanese are guilty of as far as over-literalizing things. They can't see the nuance. They really can't. What is it that Sony does as far as their Kaizen philosophy, and they do have a different philosophy than Fuji, is that instead of Kaizen in the sense of of a good change, where you're taking like the XT1 and you're making improvements on it, and you're working on what is a really good foundation. Okay, you're taking the foundation of the XT1. It's like, we're going to improve this and this and this. We're going to tear this building down to like the first floor, and then going to rebuild it up. Okay. Bad Kaizen would be Sony's philosophy. It's like, we aren't going to work from the foundation. What we're going to do is we're going to demolition the whole thing up with dynamite. Boom! And then we're going to totally change the hell out of everything. And that pisses customers off. Okay? That pisses, it's like, totally radically new model. Totally radically everything's different. Don't improve on the things that people bitch about. When people were bitching about some things on the XT1, Fuji changed them, and they don't exist on the XT2. Like the buttons are raised where they were really flush. That pissed people off. Some other things that pissed. One thing that I complained about is there needed to be a preview button there instead of having to reach up there. They changed that. Take the Sony a6300 versus the 6500. Now the fanboy lunatics out there, or as I call them, the Kool-Aid drinkers, they'll say, well, it's got in-body image stabilization now. Well, isn't that special? I got by for 20 years without any stabilization of any variety, but apparently you're a puss and you need your camera stabilized on 10 different axes, including one in a parallel universe in which you don't exist. It has stabilization in the parallel universe as well. Yeah, I know, that's a bit ludicrous. But now Tony pointed this out very well. Person that I basically never agree with anything on. Tony, in his video, which, yes, I did happen to watch the last 10 minutes of that, and his concerns on the A6500, and I'll agree with him because he's 100% right. He said, they added all these changes, but the things that people hate about the A6300, they left in place, like these really bad button placements. A few other things that people hate, they didn't even change that at all. The stuff that people wanted changed, they didn't change. The stuff that people didn't care that much about, they added in, So there's change, there's good Kaizen, and then there's bad Kaizen. Okay? Fuji's Kaizen is good. No, I don't speak Japanese. Now let's talk about the word Zen here in a second, okay, what that actually word comes from. That I do know about, even though I don't speak Japanese. And in bad Kaizen, that means Fuji is actually tearing down to the first floor of the building and rebuilding back up. Sony is going, let's demolition the whole thing, like stick it full of dynamite, and boom, the whole thing is just gone. I mean, even the basement's gone. Rebuild up something. That's not how Kaizen philosophy is supposed to work. Now let's talk about the origin of the word Zen, which is supposed to mean good. Well, it doesn't mean good. Zen in the Japanese comes from the Chinese, and this is really, I really know my stuff, okay, even though I don't know Japanese. Zen comes from the Chinese word channa, which came into Japanese as Zen, channa, Zen. Because the Chinese word for channa is a Japanese word for Zen. Anyway, the Chinese jhana came from the Sanskrit word jhana, okay, which loosely is samadhi. Now, meditation is an incorrect word, which came from the earlier Indo-Aryan Prakrit word jayati. So it's jayati, jhana, dhyana. Chinese chana, and then from the Chinese into the Japanese, for the Chinese character, which means Zen in Japanese. So it went Zen, chana, dhyana, jhana, and jayati. So the original term of the word Zen comes from the word to burn. And in the sense of disobjectification, or to the neti monistic metaphysics of Advaita Vedanta, which is all original Prakrit metaphysics is about burning away the objective. Disobjectification, or apophaticism, or the neti, not this, not that, negative dialectic, means to literally burn away the useless crap. Kind of like the needle in the haystack, it is literally burning away everything and leaving the soul in the original metaphysics is where the original term comes from. So Zen, in its very, very original sense, where it came from, jhana, dhyana, jhana, and jayati, which is Prakrit, which I've been translating now for 15 years. Anybody wants me to debate me on that, I'll destroy you. I will destroy you flat out if you want to argue that word. Comes from the word to burn, meaning burn away defilements, burn away ignorances, burn away false objectifications. So So this word Kaizen, which of course certainly does not originate in the Magadhi Valley of 600 BCE India, would literally translate as the change of burning, in a good sense, literally burning away that which is bad, kind of like the XT1 is like the things that people bitched about on the XT1. The Kaizen of Fujifilm was to burn away the crap, but you still keep the foundation. You know, it's like burning away all the stuff that is accumulated. Sometimes there's an old way in Scotland, like when moss would grow on the outside of your building, you would actually, since the buildings were stone and you couldn't burn them down, you would actually like set the house on fire, and it would burn, it would harden the stone and leave a black ash to keep the moss from growing, which caused it. Anyway, the point is burning away the bad stuff and leaving the good stuff and building upon that. So that is the true Kaizen, the good Kaizen, as opposed to the bad Kaizen in Sony's case, which is change strictly for the sake of change. It's like we're not going to build upon something. We're going to take the bad stuff and keep it, which of course makes no sense at all. And additionally so, we're going to demolition the whole thing. You know, just like load it up with dynamite. Boom! We'll start from scratch. So definitely there are two Kaizen philosophies even in Japan. Good Kaizen and bad Kaizen. I just knocked my microphone like a goofball. So, by the way, there was the ontology of an ancient word, Zen, Jhana, Dhyana, Jhana, and Jayati, which I'm sure all of you people are really interested in knowing the origins of that word. But anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.